Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Trainz Railroad Simulator. Trainz with a Z. And today we're going to be taking a look at the latest and greatest from the Switchback simulations. These guys are known for doing some pretty solid routes and route modules, little short line operations. One of their most notable in recent history being the Hatchet Creek. This time they're going a little bit different. They decently sized coal route, coal operations in the form of the Clinchfield CK extension. It's a fictional route, obviously, such as, as it said here, 27 miles of main line, 2 6-mile branch lines, bunch of coal mines, handful of towns and industries along the way. Now, unfortunately, I don't have anything for the Clinchfield, so we're going to be running with some freelance stuff, I guess, because it's a freelance route. Why not? Who says I can't? But unfortunately, there's a ton of missing assets. I don't know if it's just me, but I had to go through a hard PC cleanup and hard reset because I was having a lot of trouble with my computer. And so now I'm on a very fresh install of Trainz. I only just got to functional point yesterday. And fresh install of Trainz plus many of these older DLCs and assets and whatnot is a horrible combo because I have a long list of routes with missing assets, unknown assets, faulty assets. I have a bunch of paid DLC that have faulty assets. It's a headache, to say the least. Some would say that's Trainz for you, and you would be correct. However, that being said, that is something to bear in mind if you're relatively new to Trainz or you have a fresh install. This might be exactly what you see with me. So one of those missing assets that I have found all through the route is there's apparently a missing spline of unknown origin. So there's a ton of these dashed line placeholders all over the route. Again, it is what it is. I can't really do anything about it. I couldn't tell you which asset it is to begin with. But ignoring things like that, let's take a look at the entirety of the route. So I'm going to zoom out here to our full map size. And we got our point A, which includes a loop, a portal. It's just kind of outside the map. It's not really anything. So our actual point A on the route is East Crankin here, or Crankin, I guess. Zoom around here. And Crankin does include a coal mine here, a coal loader, with a somewhat yard, nothing particularly fancy, but enough to get one set up for some fun operations, if they so please. And I have noticed a lot of the coal loaders are functional, which which is nice. Looks to be a road spline that's missing for me, which I guess again is kind of a unfortunate side of life, but you know, what can you do? Putt cars at the stations there. Now, I don't think they were aiming for any one particular arrow with this route, so one can kind of get away with whatever they wish to float. Looks like a missing track spline here for a grain elevator, which might have been functional. Sad. One scratchy issue that kind of sticks out at me, it's a bit of a glaring, not really problem. I guess for some people they don't mind it. For, in my opinion, it's these blasted 2D trees, these 2D crisscrossed trees used everywhere. I imagine it's for performance capabilities to keep performance requirements low, but on the other hand, it's 2025. These trees look so outdated, it's not even funny, which is kind of sad because they do not really complement the rest of the route. Ignoring the missing road spline, the rest of the route actually looks pretty darn good. There's a lot of nice attention to detail all around the route with a lot of the little scenes, such as our trailer here that's actually built up on the side of a hill. You know, the fun little farms, the coal mines, the tipples and such all look pretty decent. And then you have these very antiquated 2D crisscross trees that just, they don't look great. I get they're also aiming for a fall look with the fun fall colors, but surely there's a handful of assets out there that are newer than these. Now, really, as far as the scenery goes, it's probably the only big glaring issue that I have seen along this route is just the 2D trees. One of the big issues with these 2D trees is Trainz creates shadows for them, and so you've got a half shadow and a half not shadow, and it looks goofy. Again, it's just my opinion. Somebody else is probably going to come up and be like, alright, that's just fine, you're just nitpicking. Yeah, that's what I do. If you haven't seen any of my other videos, I do indeed nitpick. So, coming up on our first little town across the main line, or our first little, like, I guess kind of yard. Apparently there's another missing track spline. Unfortunate. We got a little bit of a servicing track here for whatever one wishes to place. A bit of a yard. A missing consist. Outside of the missing track assets, again, the attention to detail is pretty cool. Nice usage of people, which is always a pet peeve of mine, how people do not use characters throughout their routes, and it ends up just making a route look dead and empty. And there's also some background audio. That is very clearly like a grass blind that's missing. It's not a lot of background audio. I think they still could use some more, maybe birds chirping, wind rustling. Given all these trees, it would make sense to have kind of some more ambient audio here, there, and everywhere. The route follows a river a lot like this. There's no river audio. Really, your only ambient that is noticeable is those crows. Which the crows are a nice touch. It keeps it from being completely and utterly empty, but it does still need something. Again, like I said, birds chirping or rustling winds, some river audio, stuff like that would be very nice. Other cool things, the amount of like abandoned old sidings and industries and such up and down the route. Obviously, it's geared more towards the diesel era, which, if that floats your boat, it floats your boat. Everybody knows I'm a bit of I prefer tea kettles, but you can kind of get away with steam. The automobiles and such give it more of the 1970s vibe. Huh. There's a banjo sound somewhere. I'm not really pinpointing where it's coming from. Well, that's kind of fun. That's cool. It's a nice ambient. A fun spot where one of the branch lines begins. So if we oogie back over here, we got our first little branch line. Just leads up to an old coal mine, and then ends. So you got a passing siding, and then obviously your coal tipple. Some of the assets are a little bit dated. It's kind of funny. You got these early trucks here paired up with newer trailers and really newer utility trucks, and then extra new people, but at least they got people, and the clutter's really nice. It's kind of fun seeing the fleshed out mine to a certain degree. Goes all the way back there. Oh goodness. My computer cries. other mine along the little branch line here. Now, if one couldn't guess, this is geared pretty hard towards coal. It's just fine. I feel like I passed this branch on accident. I did. That's not our first branch. This is our first branch. Boogie, boogie. Here's a fun scene. Somebody did drop the audio marker down a little bit. Ah, floating pole. Floating wires. Our semi-modernish train to fit the era a little better. Because we gotta have a train running somewhere along here. And while we're at it, we'll go ahead and get this rolling. Wildly out of place, but yeah. So anyway, let's make our way back up to where we are, or where we were. Oh, goodness me. I can figure out where we were. Ah, here's where we left off. Yoink. And zoom. I believe this puts us where we're supposed to be. Now we just gotta wait on the game to finish catching up here. Scenery wise, it won't change too terribly much across the route. It's pretty consistent, which is good. We got this heavily forested Appalachian mountain view in fall, and pretty typical Appalachian fashion. The railroad, the main line here, effectively follows a river most of the time. Could have swore I'd already been out here. Ah, I had. Here's the branch. Yeah, drag race going on over here. That's kind of fun. It's a fun little scene. Another old coal mine. Coal loadout. Here's kind of a fun one. Fun scene. It looks like an old slide out getting repaired. Kind of fun with this big high bridge right here. Let's see. Norfolk and Western Muddy Creek Viaduct. Make for some fun scenes, having a train on either side of the river oogie and boogieing along. Kind of the big yard of the route here. Locomotive servicing facilities. Old roundhouse. That's kind of cool. It's a cool touch. Full size yard on either side of the river here. Could make for some interesting switching opportunities. Nice fleshed out town here. Automobiles. Nice usage of cars everywhere. Could stand for some more characters placed here, there, and everywhere. Yeah, like that. Well, there's a fun touch. We got a school over here. Route splits. You got your portal and your runaround with the setup for your longer trains and whatnot outside the route. That is end to end on the Clinchfield. Overall, a pretty solid setup. Obviously, speeds are pretty slow, which is, again, pretty typical of this area following rivers like this. Typically speed to 20, 25, maybe 30 mile an hour oftentimes, even today. So, pretty slow going along the route. A lot of what you can see here is long, heavy coal operations. Maybe odd through freights, but or if you're a freak like me, you got your excursion rolling around. But the route does seem to run pretty good. If you jump around a lot like I am, it takes a second. Gosh, my God. It takes a second, but overall, really neat setup for those that enjoy this area. Along the branches. There's not really a point B per se. There's a lot of point A. A lot of coal loading. Not really anywhere to dump coal off if you're looking for operations. Plenty of opportunity for some fun photos, drive-by scenes and such that floats the boat. That's about it. All there really is to point to. Overall, really nice route. It is freeware, available on their website. Link in the description on where you can find it. Yeah, overall, a pretty neat route. Again, heavy coal operations, so if you're in the diesel era coal operations, this is definitely worth checking out. Just beware the missing assets. Now, like I said, I have a long list of missing assets, and really all that really stuck out is the missing splines. But other than those, as you guys saw, there's nothing really that affects operations or the view. So I wouldn't say there's any good reason to skip it. Definitely check it out. And yeah, that's all I got going. We shall see you guys next time.